moon right behind me. See if I can zoom in on it. Beautiful moon. I have a beautiful sunrise right in front of me. That's awesome. Look at that. That's super awesome. So for today's Qigong, um, the preparatory asana that's warming up, I want to continue our discussion about being a spiritual athlete. And so we were talking a little bit about what it takes to be a spiritual warrior. And we said that a spiritual warrior is someone who is willing to combat their own self-ignorance, someone who's willing to face their own self-ignorance. And we were saying that it takes a certain quality of person, a certain type of person to be able to do that. And we call that person a spiritual athlete. And we called it a spiritual athlete for a reason, because a spiritual athlete, or an athlete in particular, is someone who has discipline, someone who's willing to show up and do the same thing over and over and over again, to break into new self-discovery, to discover something new about themselves that can take them to higher levels, take them to places in life that they may not have ever been able to do, if they hadn't, explored themselves in that way. Um, there was a kid who I knew, grew up in my neighborhood, and he's a baseball player. And he was really kind of the only baseball player in my neighborhood that I was aware of. And every day he was throw his ball at the garage. He's a pitcher. And he would just throw the ball at the garage, just throw the ball at the garage every day, every day, every day, all day. All you heard was boom. A couple minutes later, boom. A couple minutes later, boom. Now this is a very, you know, I have a child, and one of the first things he learned to do and loves to do is just throw. And I hear that's pretty common amongst children. That's really one of our first, uh, kind of instincts is to throw. And this guy, uh, he nurtured that kind of first instinct his whole life, just throwing the ball, and it took him to some pretty far away places, right? He was able to go to college. He was able to get an education just throwing the ball. He was able to affect many other children's lives just by learning to throw the ball, being a positive influence on so many people's lives and help change so many other people's lives just because he consistently threw the ball. And so I say that and I use that example because a lot of times we like to create these super, what's the word, grandiose ideas of what transformation should look like. And we need to master something huge in order to have a huge impact on our lives and the people's lives around us. But really, you need to just master and become consistent at something really small. And that really small thing will have a huge impact. Just like this guy throwing the ball. So I mentioned the key word, and that was consistency. And this is where a lot of people fall short, and that's with consistency. And I've noticed this my whole life. I noticed this when I was an athlete. I noticed that for one reason or another, I had the ability to um, get up and consistently do extra workouts, consistently do extra shots, do extra practice. And I noticed that most of the other kids, for whatever reason, um, didn't nurture that ability, and they weren't able to do that. And the the important part about consistency is, see, we over fixate on something being difficult. And of course, you're doing something new, you're making a new change, there's going to be resistance within your body. But once you become consistent enough, and this is key, once you become consistent enough, the consistency allows you to surrender to the process. And once you're able to surrender to the process, that's when you start to experience all the benefits, the joy, the rapid transformation, the impact on other people's lives, the transformation within your own life. That's when you start to experience that, when you're able to be consistent and you're able to surrender to the process. Um, the consistency is the key, because the surrendering doesn't happen automatically for most people. I almost never see it happen automatically for most people. Uh, when you it, it surrendering isn't something that you can force. It's something that you have to kind of relax into or lose yourself into. So consistency is a doorway into that. Now, what's an important aspect of consistency? Keeping it simple. As you can see, I'm backed up to a walking trail and running trail, and there's that lovely sunrise again. And over the years, I noticed that there are small groups of people who are out here consistently, no matter what. They're either walking or running, they have their routine. And then there are people who kind of come and go. I see them for a few weeks, and then I never see them again. And over the years, I just start to notice things, not judging anybody or anything like that, but you start to notice patterns just by consistently watching. And one of the things I start to notice is the people uh, who are most consistent, the people who are out here all the time, the ones who I could see the transformation in, because I've watched them run for years, because I'm out here every morning at the same time as well. Uh, they keep it simple. It looked like they just rolled out of bed and they started their exercise in whatever they had on when they woke up, right? And that's important, because that's less resistance, and that allows you to really build on the momentum. Just something that small. It's just hopping out of bed and whatever you had on, and throwing on your shoes and walking out the door. That's less resistance. It helps you build on momentum. It helps you build momentum. Now, on the flip side, many of the people that I see for a short period of time and then I never see them again, a lot of those folks, you could tell, like, it's a little overcomplicated. They overcomplicated the process. They're trying to do extra things to help them, feel better about, making a sacrifice, or putting forth this effort that's uncomfortable for them in the moment. And a lot of times, what I'll see is um, a lot of kind of new, extravagant clothing that you could tell is. Uh, if someone has to get up and do that every day by themselves, that's going to turn into an added obstacle. I've experienced that in my life. So, if you're going to run, a mile or two, then it may not be um, a good use of your energy to, have extra things, extra gadgets that you have to give your attention to. That's taken away from you actually doing the run. So something that simple, little tweaks like that, that's that simple, can make a huge difference in you building momentum or you losing momentum. And that affects your consistency, and that affects how you ultimately are able to surrender to the process. So when I meet people and they're telling me all of these obstacles as to why they can't, say, go for a walk every day, then first thing I do is ask them to describe their day to me. And really, uh, you know, what they end up doing is just describing a whole lot of, uh, you know, I guess you could say excuses, but really it's just a whole lot of hurdles that they put in the way that they think are necessary to them, actually, uh, being successful, but it's not. You have to simplify the process and then put forth the effort every day. Be consistent, be consistent, be consistent. You're not going to feel like doing it every day, but it'll get easier. It'll get easier. Simplify the process. So, uh, consistency. In another video, I will explore surrendering because that has a negative connotation for a lot of people. And when I mention surrendering, sometimes I get resistance, and understandably so. But I want to look at it, want to explore it with people from a different angle. So, in Qigong, and if you missed the video, feel free. Feel free to go back and revisit. We're exploring um, being a spiritual athlete, and we started off by exploring what a spiritual warrior is. And a spiritual warrior is someone who is willing to confront their own self ignorance. And in order to do that, we said it'd be a good idea to be a spiritual athlete. And we use the athlete because an athlete is someone who shows up every day to do the mundane thing over and over again until they have a breakthrough. And so they're able to surrender to that process and have a breakthrough. And by mastering something little, something mundane, and I gave an example of the kid in my neighborhood who all he did was threw a baseball, and that was able to take him to some wonderful places and have a wonderful impact on people's lives. But doing a mundane thing over and over, mastering something little, can open up your world. It doesn't have to be a grandiose thing. It can turn into that. But initially, you want to master something small. You want to be consistent with something small and build momentum. And so I hope this was helpful. And like always, may you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be well. Thank you for hopping on. I'm about to do a quick morning Qigong. Already did the walk, did the breathing, the cold shower, the stretching, yoga, meditation. Um, After the meditation, I like to let my energy kind of settle a little bit. And then I do a quick morning Qigong. I'm going to do the preparatory asanas on this video. And then I'm going to stop the video and then I'm going to do the postures off screen. And I stop it because the postures can get pretty intense and it can take a little bit of time. So I want to keep this short and brief for everyone. And I will hop into the preparatory asanas. So some of you know every day I switch the asanas up a little bit just based on how my body's feeling. So today I'm noticing I want to get a little bit more movement in this area of my body, in the abdomen area, and maybe in the lower back as well. And so I'm gonna really focus on getting um, full extension from my waist up. So I'm gonna start by rolling my head, nice and easy. I've already done a lot of stretching this morning, a lot of yoga, so I don't have to go super deep as if I was doing this first. Remember to breathe. Shoulders. Remember to breathe. Rolling back. We're going to spread our arms. Moving forward. Nice deep stretch. Exhale. Inhale. Moving forward. Nice deep stretch. Exhale. Inhale. Nice deep stretch. Exhale. And down. We want to rotate our hips. Nice and easy. Nice, good swing. Relax. I'm gonna put one hand on my abdomen, one hand on the small of my back. I'm gonna turn and rub. Just giving a little attention to these areas. Waking up our nervous system. Nice and easy. Waking up our gut. Nice and easy. All right. Rub my hands together. Balloon. Lift it. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Now we're gonna go palms up, fingers facing. Nice full stretch. Hold it. Relax. Bring it down. Now we're gonna push our left hand down, right hand up. Stretch, big stretch. Reverse. Big stretch. Reverse. Big stretch. When we talk about consistency, it's good to break it down like this into smaller portions so you don't feel like you're taking on a whole lot at once before you've had a chance to get good at it. One of my coaches would say it's better to take 50 shots with great technique than to take 100 shots with poor technique. Exhale, reversing that process. The reason why this is important, because if we're exploring getting deeper into meditation, you really want to engage your nervous system so that you feel the added benefits, so you can get deeper into meditation. If you saw the other video, then you remember me saying what's more important is the quality of the meditation, not the quantity, not how long you do it for. Some days I do it 5 or 10 minutes, some days it's 30, 40 minutes. I focus more on the quality. So what does a quality meditation look like for me? Well, one, my posture. Am I able to rest into a good, upright, erect posture? We call it Siddhasana. There's a few other names for it, but it's called Siddhasana. It's where you're seated in a particular cross-leg position and nice and comfortable and erect. Remember to breathe. That's one way. If I'm able to rest into that position, then I know I did my preparatory asanas right. I know I did my yoga good, my breath. I know I did my qigong good. I did it pre-meditation. The ball. Nice stretch across the body. The other way I know if my meditation is quality is my breathing. Am I able to rest into a good breath? Am I able to just follow my breath? Or am I needing to make the breaths intentional? If I'm needing to make the breaths intentional in order to focus, then I know that's a sign for me that my nervous system is a little overstimulated, and I can get deeper, and I can go deeper into my yoga or my breath exercises or my qigong to soothe my nervous system a little bit better, so I could just rest into a breath during meditation and follow it and not need to have any intentional breathings. So those are two ways I measure whether my meditation is quality or not. When I'm able to rest into the posture and rest into the breath, then all of a sudden a deep meditation happens automatically. If I'm not able to, then essentially I'm forcing it. And I either have to sit there longer to try to make it happen, or because you have enough experience, you know, okay, it's time to call it, and you need to give more attention to your asanas. We're working at lower back, abdomen, hip flexor area today. Here, back straight, deep breath in, nice push all the way down, nice stretch. Back up, push, back up, and push it out, push, push, Push it out. Rest your hands, top of a big balloon. We're going to breathe in, ride the wave, relax. Breathe in, ride the wave. 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 Now, I like to close my preparatory asanas regardless of how I do them. Generally with this motion, gather all the goodness around me, harness it, embrace it, share my gifts and talents with creation for the betterment of creation. I gather all the goodness around me, harness it, embrace it, share my gifts and talents with creation for the betterment of creation. I gather all the goodness around me, harness it, embrace it, share my gifts and talents with creation for the betterment of creation. As always, I hope this is helpful. And may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be well. Take one last look at the sunrise. See if the moon is still there. Yep. Everything's moving. There's our sunrise. It's moving too. Yeah, so thank you for joining, for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy your day.